It's a pretty exciting day here, or weekend, because I have finally taken the time to learn how to control my camera with the smartphone. Now, if any of you out there are also content creators, you may understand the workout that you get going back and forth between cameras to look, is it level? Did it do this? Blah, 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 etc. And I've just apparently seem to have navigated all of that with minimal perspiration and one touch of my finger on my phone. Why I didn't realize my camera had this beforehand, I don't know. But I wanted to share that small technological win and celebration with you all. Welcome, you are most welcome. I like to always start out my vlogs with a deep, heartfelt thank you to those that are supporting the production of this project financially, whether that's through Patreon, which is a subscription, or it's through coffee. I am, as I said, I'm deeply grateful for the support that comes my way and offsets not only the physical cost of being a vlogger, but also the investment of time that happens here. So thank you. If you are here on YouTube and have liked or subscribed to the channel, left a comment, I am again deeply grateful. All of that helps create traction and disperse the content and this project further afield to other viewers who might find it interesting. And I am always reading my comments, whether they're on the vlog or over on Patreon or on YouTube, and I do my best to respond as I can. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. That's really important for me to say, and I appreciate you providing the space for me to do that here at the beginning. Right, well, I have been feeling a little untethered, creativity-wise. Been having a hard time, aside from knitting, settling into a project and having kind of a long-term plan and seeing it through and really knowing kind of where to turn to. Doesn't surprise me here in March, which is, you know, it's the transition between that winter cozy hibernation and kind of the big bursting energies of spring. So I think I've been resisting that. I just want to sit on the couch and knit and go for walks and eat soup still. But I recognize that there's things that I want to get done. So it's kind of a push-pull. And in order to combat that with so many interests and projects on the go and materials and ideas, I went back to my 15-minute strategy because I was having, like I said, I was not able to kind of focus or find my way into this space. And I landed on the hand stitching project that I had started from Yoko Sihito's Patchwork Blocks and Bags book. I had talked a little bit about this experience on my studio vlog last week, and this was part of the plan. And so I came in for 15 minutes, which parlayed itself into longer, as you may have seen, working on hand piecing the 1,000 pyramid block. Now I'm creating kind of like a 14 by 14. I'm looking for just a big piece of fabric that I'm going to square off and use to create a bag with. So it doesn't have to be a particular size to fit into a quilt per se. And I have been hand stitching the triangles together. And then this morning I decided to experiment with sewing them using the machine, because I was very concerned about precision. All of these, of course, because their triangles have bias edges, they're prone to stretching, and I've had luck with the hand stitching and then finger pressing, but I thought, am I feeling brave enough? Of course I am. So I put those through the machine and using a pin to line up the corners of my triangles or the points, and then going very slowly and using the lines that I had drawn for hand stitching as a guide, I was able to kind of keep the integrity of the fabric. So that maybe will go faster than I thought. I have gone ahead and worked with just the triangles, and then I did use the machine to put 2 rows together. It's not beautiful, but it will work. So again, because I'm not looking to have this fit perfectly into another piece, I feel like I have a little bit more wiggle room. So I think I might continue on that with the, I'm looking at it, just can't think of the name of it, the sewing machine. Because I have other hand stitching projects on the go, and that might make it quicker, and then I can get to the bag kind of development itself. I did talk about that last time. What else did I talk about? I had finished a quilt over February vacation from school, and I think I featured that as well on the studio vlog for patrons. And with that being done, I didn't have any, well, I didn't think I did, and then I remembered that I did have any quilts in process, but I did have a quilt in process, and that is a Japanese Taupe Fabrics quilt using some blocks from Susan Briscoe's Japanese Taupe quilts. Now, I have quite a few taupe fat quarters that I got through a subscription that I belong to with Pinwheels. I think it's pinwheels.com. And yeah, they are beautifully muted. There's a very specific style for Japanese taupe quilts, and it tends to be very muted and very subtle, not lots of high contrast. The blocks that I have chosen are very unique, and they will capitalize on the patterning in the fabrics. The fabrics themselves can range from a similar feeling to like a quilting cotton to a full-on kind of homespun woven. So there's a lot of different textures. There's a lot of graphic designs, meaning like plaids and ginghams, but they're all very subtle. They're all kind of behind me here. And so the colors are just really gentle fabrics. And so I had come into Japanese taupe quilts and fabrics through Yoko Sahito's book. She's a Japanese quilt designer and bag maker and applique embroiderer, through her book Scandinavian Quilts. And I think I featured this on a vlog. I don't know how to find that out, but I think I did. Anyway, I really love her work and her use of color and fabrics, and she designs her own taupe fabrics. And so that's kind of where I got started. And then I went from here, which has a lot of bags. I don't know why, I'm kind of going off a little bit on a tangent here, but this is the Traditional Blocks book. I've featured this as well. This is where I got the 1,000 pyramid square and the bag that I'm planning to make. And I can find a picture of it right here. So this is Yoko Sahito as well. And then I also picked up a couple of her quilt party books. So this is Captivating Quilt Projects, Petite Projects, Traditional Patterns, Flower Applique, Seasonal Mini Quilts. So there's that one. I picked up Irresistible Bags and Pouches. Just, there's a lot of beautiful projects, and these are things I would do, but they're also just really gorgeous photography and inspiring patterns and ways of using color and putting things together. And so I have those two, which I've thoroughly enjoyed. These two I featured on a studio vlog. And then I have her Yoko Sahito Through the Years, which is more of like a kind of a compilation. It's not instructional. It's really inspirational. It has a lot of her quilts that she's done. This was from Martingale Press, which is, I think, no longer, but might be out there on Books, which is, again, just really beautiful use of color and motifs and themes. And the last one I got is Yoko Sahito's Japanese Taupe Color Theory, a Study Guide. I think I may have gotten this one used, but look at, I mean, that is So much fun. So what I really enjoy about these fabrics is they are very earthy. They just feel elegant and classic, sophisticated. Yeah, so anyway, Yoko Sehito, 1,000 Pyramids bag. Then I was working on a quilt, Japanese Taupe Fabrics. So what quilt am I working on? Now I talked about this before with some of you. And I chose 9 blocks from Susan Briscoe's Japanese Taupe quilts. And the one that I am going to do next is the Appliqué. That's what you saw me preparing. And this one is the Mizano Kengatu Ryoko. She provides the templates for it. I had picked another one, but it felt a bit overwhelming. I have appliqué items down onto quilts and bags and other things. But I just felt maybe I should work on needle turn applique with more, minimal elements, and then I could work my way up. So I have chosen, like I said, 9 blocks from this book. They're all 9.5 inch. They all finished that way. This will be my 4th block that I am working on. And yeah, that is all prepared and ready to be worked on now. So that feels good. You saw me using freezer paper. And I just, I traced it, cut it out. It's nice because it has a little bit of wax on one side, and you can kind of melt that and adhere it to your fabric. And then I just used a white gel pen to mark out my lines, my needle turning lines. Yoko Sehito has instructions in her book. There were instructions included in this book. I will say all of these are not super technical instructions. They have good information, but there is an element of skill that I think needs to be brought to the table, where you're either like ready to do research, or you have experience working with this type of project, because it's not like, and then place it here, and then place it there, and then do this. And that's what I'm finding with the block that I'm working on right now, which is fine. But there's a diagram of placement, but there are no numbers. So I'm like, well, do I place each element 3/8 inch, 3/8 in from the edge? So I have a 1/4 edge to sew. When the block is finished in the quilt, should the top of the motifs be finished at the seam? So I had some questions about that, and I'm trying to make decisions about that. But yeah, that's what I would say about the books. They are directional, and they give you a layout and cutting ideas, obviously inspiration. But I'm definitely having to add some of my own experience, my own finagling, and also like room for, that's kind of what I was looking for within the plan. So that's the quilting and fabric portion of what's happening here this week, getting prepped. The other thing that I worked on is hand quilting my Clava quilt by Miss May Make, and I have finished the whole center moon section. All of the blue background fabric has been quilted, so it's just the moons that need some embellishment. And I had originally done this quilting of the blue very tight, so I think I was looking for a 1/4 inch in between, and it was just like super quilted. And so the last 3 blocks on either side, I kind of lightened up, so it was going much faster. And I think I'm gonna continue that. I had originally thought I might cut it all out and just send it to the long armor, but I persevered this weekend and finished all of the blue in the center, as I said, and now start working on the blues, the background fabrics of the other 2 before I go and quilt the moon. Because I think what I would like to do is get everything quilted, maybe even bind it, and then work on embellishing the moons. I had done a couple different sashiko design motifs inside each of the moons. I may continue to do that. I don't know. So I'm just trying to take barriers out of the way so I can get it done and enjoy it. So that is another hand stitching kind of piece, which is why I kind of weighed out using the machine to put together the 1,000 pyramid block and not hand stitch that. So that's really what I've just tried to focus on, is realizing that I did have a quilt that needed attention, which is the taupe quilt, resurrecting the 1,000 pyramids and seeing if I can get that to a place where I can work on the bag. And I attempted to pull out the sewing that I had planned. Some of you had talked about, you know, where to do the cutting and etc. And that was really invigorating. Like, oh, don't, you know, this, that. And I got it out, and then my heart just wasn't in it. I just didn't feel like doing it. And, you know, I have a friend who's made this pattern and had really good success with it. And I did a bunch of research because I'm planning to use linen. And I've seen linen used, and you know, cotton linen blends, and so I feel like all the elements are there and lined up, but I just turned away from it, and I don't know. So that kind of is looking at me here on the ironing board, but I haven't moved any further on that. And then I did think about the Bilbo vest, which my next kind of plan for that is to create a wool patchwork fabric similar to the 1,000 pyramid, and then cut pieces from that to create a wool patchwork. So I haven't started on that, but I did think about it. So those are kind of all the things that are running around in the sewing realm, quilting, fabric-y kind of thoughts. Yeah, so I'm gonna leave you there on that note. I'm going to do a few chores, and then we'll talk about knitting. So for the knitting portion, not a lot has changed in the past couple weeks. I continue to work on the Pagan Sky by Zanetta Knits. This is a top-down yoke knitted, or I'm knitting it in Plotolopi and a brown and a cream, and I am like 10 rows from splitting for the arms. I've really enjoyed that project. I've said that before. I have just really craved the Plotolopi experience on my hands. So yeah, the Icelandic has been certainly a running theme for the past couple projects. I am working on the Viola Designs Agnes Kofte Dark, although I'm not knitting a cardigan. I have kind of translated that into a pullover, and this is part of a very casual knit along that I'm hosting, if you will, over on Ravelry. And speaking of which, I need to go over and update where I am and take a look at what's been happening. But I am knitting this in Rauma, and I have substituted some colors from the original, and every time I pull that out, I am just captivated by the richness of the color palette. And yeah, I'm really pleased with the overall project, how it's all come together, the fit, and I would highly recommend the English ebook that you can purchase from her site. So the patterns are available individually in Norwegian, but this book is a compilation of not just sweaters, but also mittens, hats, other accessories, sweaters, and there's a lot of beautiful sweaters. So that's by Viola Designs, and I am knitting the Agnes Kofte Dark, kind of. So I would recommend that. I do know that the Woolly Thistle has kits for the light and the dark Agnes Kofte, and you can check that out at thewoollythistle.com. I do have an affiliate link if you'd like to kick back a little commission to this project at no cost to yourself. It is listed below, and the Woolly Thistle, not sponsored here, but it is a great place to find some of these workhorse yarns like Plotolopi and Letlopi, Ralma, Jameson's and Smith, Spindrift. So take a look if you are interested in finding just some of those really kind of touchstone wools that have been around for a long time and are consistent and perform and are also at a really great price point. So, but again, she has kits for the Agnes in the light and the dark, the version that she knit in the light, and something similar to what I'm doing, but I think they substituted in as well because the sweaters use a number of different Rama lines. Some are alpaca blends, etc. So take a look if you're interested over at the Woolly Thistle. And the last one is the Yell, and that is by Marie Wallen. I'm knitting that in Spindrift. It is also in brown and cream and an all over color work, and that is worked from the bottom up, and I am working towards the shoulder. So those are the knits at the moment. I was really inspired when I went to Spa. I think it's Neta, N-E-T-A Spa, which is a gathering weekend here in Maine. I don't actually have a lot of details about it. I know I've been a couple of years ago, like maybe 8 years ago, because there is a market. But other than that, I'm not really sure if it's specific for a group or who it's kind of, marketed through. I found it hard to find any information about it in general. But I knew my friend Patricia of Tidal Yarns was coming, and it was only 20 minutes from my parents, so it was easy for me to access, and I spent Friday afternoon, night, and Saturday with Patricia. It was wonderful to be in her booth, not only to kind of help people pick out projects, which is like one of my most favorite things to do, but also those of you that came up to chat about your experience with the vlog, and I just really appreciated hearing your feedback in person, so thank you for that. Patricia and I had a great time, and one of the things I saw in the booth was a sample that she had knit up in one of her yarns, and it was the Boston Bog. This is by Tia Coleman. It's an all-over cable work hat, and it is done in a worsted weight, so I have a feeling it will go quite quickly. And I thought this would be a nice kind of counterbalance to the all-over color work that I'm doing. It will allow me to dip my toes a little bit into some different technique like cable. I think I was inspired by my friend Corinne over at the Woolly Thistle and her cable work sweater. I think she's working on the book. Oh, I can't think of it now, by Sorry Norland, the book club sweater maybe. Anyway, cables has kind of intrigued me, and I thought, oh, this will be good. It will satisfy that little bit of something different. I have 200 yards of this Romney from Great Bay Woolworks. I picked up when I interviewed Teresa for Fiber Trek 2.0, so you can find Teresa and I and a vast array of sheepy characters on that edition. And yeah, so I think I'm going to cast that on before I head south for work today. It's in a beautiful kind of deep brown, no surprise there. I do have it in the cream, and I considered doing it in this. I still might. Just a beautiful white cable hat. Tends not to get too much dirt and wear because it's on my head versus like cuffs and those types of things. So anyway, I'm leaning more heavily towards the brown, but I may end up in the white. So that's kind of going to be happening, and I'm excited about that, to get that on the go. If you were a patron, you saw last week that I picked up this book, Alice Starmore Tudor Roses. I was inspired to pull this into the collection by a podcaster I watch. The name of the podcast is Wahlgren Makes, and Sarah is in Sweden. She's a knitter, and she also does weaving and sewing. Her pieces are really well executed and thoughtful. She does a nice job kind of documenting her process, and I would highly recommend checking out Wahlgren Makes on YouTube. And she was talking about doing an Alice Starmore project, which was a vest. And I thought, that's an approachable, accessible, you know, project for me. I don't enjoy working with set-in sleeves. I've said that multiple times, and I don't want to put a ton of work into a project where I know I'm not going to get the result, because I don't know why, but stitching in sleeves is just super challenging for me. So anyway, there's a vest in here. It is the Elizabeth of York vest, and I thought, I can do finishing and I can do turned collars and shaping and all of those things. So I picked it up in consideration of doing the Elizabeth of York vest. So thank you very much, Sarah Walgren Makes. But yeah, check her out, be inspired. She is working on a sweater from this book at the moment. She just finished a star cardie. She works with a lot of different yarns, you know, Ulsentrum, Rauma, Hillesvåg. So it's nice to kind of see some of those yarns coming to the forefront in the knitting world. The last thing I thought I would chat about is some other content that I've been watching. I enjoy you know, a number of different knitting vlogs, but there's some others that I thought you might enjoy as well. And one of those is Catherine Gregory. She's a traveler in the, like, kind of the Southwest and Pacific Northwest and west of the United States. Sometimes she goes into Canada, but she backpacks and lives in her truck and travel trailer and takes you along. And I love the scenery. I love getting into places that are not accessible to me in the moment. And so you might find her travels to be of interest to you. So that's Catherine Gregory. And the other is a birder. His name is Sparky Stensas, and he is the executive director for Sax Zimbog, which is located in northern Minnesota. I kind of came across him because my friend Emily put out his vlog, or in my direction, because I have a strong interest in owls, and Sax Zim is a common area to see great grays and snowy owls and boreal owls. So I found this channel, and not only does he document that space, which has become high on my bucket list, and Rob's. Rob enjoys, my husband, both of these as well. We really want to get there, but he also travels quite frequently and brings along his cameras and documents all that. He does he does video, but he also does still. And I like the shakeup of content, you know, here and there. So anyway, I would highly recommend both of those channels to kind of broaden out your experience, perhaps if you are a person watching things on YouTube and looking for alternate content. I mean, there's a ton of birding videos out there, but I just enjoy Sparky and some really nice knitwear. So keep your eyes peeled for that. Can't go wrong with, like, owls, you know, snowshoes and deep snow and cold temperatures and beautiful knitwear. So check out Sparky's channel for that. I think on that note, I'm going to bid you a fond farewell. I am headed south. I don't have any big plans coming up until I leave for the Swiss Yarn Festival on April 2nd. I will be there on the 4th and 5th. And maybe I'll see you there. I don't know. And then I'm headed on to Italy with my mom and Sophia Carlson of Sophia's Tales and my friend, my dear old friend from college. So that should be super exciting. So that's coming up, and I think I've been kind of distracted by that. Right. I look forward to seeing you in a couple weeks. Many fond wishes and blessings. Take care. Bye.